And we can do this again.
Hey.
Man. We're co-workers now.
You don't got to ask. Tell me, okay?
Next time I'm going to come button up, too, to fit this.
Please do. Please do. It's always buttoned up here. I unbutton my mouth, but I keep the button top. Yo, 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 what's up? It's Chris Simms. It's Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Ahmed Fareed is here, and we have a liar here as well, a guy that said he was going to wear a top button shirt and button it up, and he's wearing a hoodie, so we're already off to a bad start. What's up, everybody? It is Monday, right? March Madness weekend. It was a good weekend. Opening weekend for Major League Baseball was cool.
So much going on.
But in sports, NFL still dominates, and we're here to talk about some draft stuff today, and we got a third wheel. We brought a third wheel with us today, and I'm always happy to have a third wheel.
I'm usually the third wheel, but I'm here more often. So, Devin, you get to be the third wheel. Devin, welcome back to the podcast.
I'll take it, man. Anytime I get to hang out with you guys, I'm a happy camper.
Thanks, man. I don't know if he might feel that way about you. I'm not sure if he feels that way totally about me.
Well, he gets his fix of you during the regular season.
He gets his fix. I mean, they asked him off camera at the Super Bowl, like, what was the first thing that jumps out to you about Simms and Florio? And his first comment was that they're assholes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
Ahmed, is that correct, though? Is that correct?
It is in some ways. You're right.
They stand up for themselves.
Call it like he sees it. I understand that. But no, I think we're gonna have a good one today. We're gonna dive into a little of the DB talk with Mr. DB guy here.
So what we got? We got AMA. We got the homies with a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
But we wanted to bring Devin on the podcast because we love Devin. We'd have you on all the time if you'd come on all the time. Just wear the buttoned up shirt next time.
Yeah, come on.
But we went through your top corners just a couple weeks ago,
right?
And your list, in which again was a little bit had some of the consensus top guys, and some were the Chris Simms special, where you saw some qualities and that you liked or didn't like with some of those guys. And so here's your top five. And we told Devin, we were like, okay, take a look at these guys, which he was going to do anyway, but really come and bring your A game, because we need to knock Chris down a peg on his own pod. This rarely happens on your own pod, where someone comes in maybe and has a differing opinion that you may have to defer to. Devin, with all his credentials here, we might have to reshuffle your top five.
I'll listen to what he says. I will definitely, and I always respect it. Defer to him? I don't know if that's a definite, okay? I mean, I don't know about that.
I said you may have to.
But this is why I wanted Devin on. This is where it's great. I had been talking to Devin about this really since the on-the-field Lions playoff game against the Bucs, and I was like, hey, Devin, when I get going with the draft stuff, I'd love to bring you on the pod a few times. Maybe you could be our defensive back expert, right? And kind of chime in there. I don't expect them to see it exactly the same way I see it, but I know I've talked to Devin enough here in the last year about football to know we're not going to be too far off on our thoughts and how we see people, right? And I think this DB class, there's some interesting things to talk about, whether it's nickel, outside guys like we talk about. He brought up a guy a few minutes ago that he talked about where I was like, I know, I like him too, but is he a corner or is he a safety, right? So there's some nuance to it here, and that's where I'm interested to get, Mr. McCourty's thoughts.
Let's just start right at the top.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because you had Quinyon Mitchell, the corner from Toledo, who was awesome.
Right.
Blew it up at the Senior Bowl. People loved him. Question maybe the competition. You had him number one. You had Nate Wiggins number two from Clemson. Let's just start right there, Devin. Do you see those guys as the top two, and would you rank them in that same order?
I do see those guys as the top two, but I would flip it. I really enjoyed watching Nate Wiggins. I thought playing against North Carolina, against Walker, like he really took the top matchups. But I will say this, I think Quinyon Mitchell has probably the highest upside if he gets in the right system, gets the right coaching. Really raw to me when you watch him on film at Toledo. Didn't get to play against a lot of the top competition. But what you love about Mitchell is when you turn on the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, he's just in his element. Looks so comfortable, enjoying it, dominating. But that's what I loved about Wiggins in actual game film. Watching him, obviously he goes to the combine and he flies. So you can see he'll be able to match up with anybody from an attribute standpoint. And what I love probably the most about him, when I text Simms, was he has that dog in him. He's flying around. He's looking at the opposing team sideline, just staring him down. That's that element that I think sometimes people don't look at. But when you play corner, especially when you're going to come in as a young guy, you're going to have a lot of bad moments. If you get drafted and you end up in like Minnesota, you're going to be matched up on JJ. You're going to be matched up on Justin Jefferson every single day. He's going to get the best of you a lot. I want to see how these kids rebound, come back. And the last thing I'll say is what what's tough about watching a lot of these guys is as I turn on the film, the first thing I said is, all right, did you play LSU? Did you play Ohio State? Did you play against those guys?
Right.
And I would turn on Alabama, and I think both of their corners are really good football players. And they play LSU, and I'm like, they barely cover neighbors. I want to see this matchup. And college football is so interesting to me because you put your top corner in the boundary because of speed and all of that, and the ball barely goes to the boundary. So you have these guys taking a break most of the game. So it was very interesting. That's what I loved about Wiggins too. They matched him up a good amount on guys. Boundary, field, they moved him around. And I think that's what the league is about. When you're a rookie, you might have other corners already there that they might have to move you around. Not everybody's going to be the Sauce Gardners that come in right away, put them on an island and produce. Some of these guys have to maybe play nickel, maybe play outside and different things. So I thought Wiggins had a lot of versatility to do different things as a rookie and then continue to grow in the NFL.
So, I mean, we talked about it. Again, and we know he knows more than me about DBs, but I mean, I played against some, right, and threw against some, and was on some teams with some, right, where, I think the thing you look at are the attitude, right? We talked, one of the reasons I like those top two guys, and I love Quinyon Mitchell, is because he's got that attitude that he's referring to with Nate Wiggins. Mitchell's got it too. It's like, bring it on. Let's go. I broke it up. I'm going to let the opposing bench know, right? You got to have thick skin playing that position to that point. I'm covering the greatest athletes on the planet, right? They're going to make a few plays too when you're just chasing them around like you're a kid on the playground. So that's where I think we like that. But to you, still, the thing you're looking at, Devin, more than anything, right? And I think we're the same way in this way. It's just the pure physical ability, the pure explosiveness, because a lot of the things I think, hand placement, hips, the way you put your foot into the ground to come out of a break, a lot of that is coachable stuff. So you want to see that pure explosive ability, and I think why those top two guys are who they are, because they have that element. Devin is interesting because he is, to me, he's just going a little bit more of like, wait, I've seen this guy against this competition, and he's going with the known instead of the little bit of the I don't know with Quinyon Mitchell, which I'm on a little bit of a limb with there. Yeah. But I understand his thought there all the way, 100%.
Yeah. So Devin, when you watch these two, and it was interesting you mentioned about Alabama, because that was part of the rankings that created the most stir probably out there. Is a lot of people have those Alabama guys in the top 5. Some even Terrion Arnold have number 1 corner. And Chris talked about the context clues of how they used him and how they played him. You mentioned kind of the same thing there, where Alabama not necessarily were protecting them, but maybe did not trust them on an island. Did you gather that from watching them, or is that just what they do?
And again, I don't watch as much college football through the years to say like this is Alabama's defense. One thing that stuck out to me was I thought those two guys were the most polished players of all of them. And to Chris's point, that's coaching. I thought they were very coachable. They understood route combinations. So I thought that enabled them to play at a high level. And I understand what Simms was saying, because when you look at the other things, it makes you question a little bit of, can they make that next step if they have to be on the island by themselves? They have to do different things. So I thought Terrion Arnold had a better year. I know people said Kool-Aid McKinstry had a better junior season than his senior season. But I thought Terrion Arnold did more things. I thought what really hurt me with Kool-Aid McKinstry was when he matched up against Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell, and Texas. I thought he had a rough time. And when I watched A.D. Mitchell, I said, that's an NFL receiver. He changes pace, sets up his routes. He does different things that I really liked on film. And you got to be able to cover those guys in the NFL. There's no way around it. So I still think those guys, I would put Arnold probably around 4th in my top 5. I really liked, was it DJ James from Auburn? I thought he was a really good player. He matched up on neighbors in the slot a little bit, did different things, fast, athletic, turn his head, run.
Right.
So I really liked him as well. So I would probably put Arnold at 4. I think if you put him in the right system in the NFL, I think he'll be a really good player. I don't think he's a guy that you can say, hey, take this guy, follow him all around the field.
Right.
But I think in the right system, especially I've seen some projections had him going to like Minnesota. I think with Brian Flores, what they did last year, a lot of different blitz looks. You at corner, if you can understand when the ball's coming out hot, when they're going to have time, I think Terrion Arnold is a guy that understands. He looks very cerebral on film, so
Right.
I could still see him being a really good player in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's saying the same things we talked about, right? Like we said when we did the top 5, like I like these corners a lot.
Totally.
Like I want them on my team, both of them. To Devin's point, they know how to play. They tackle, right? Like he said, they're smart. They know how to play the right way and according to the zone and the route combinations, reading it, whatever. They do everything well. They're just nothing to me that I look at to go, ooh, it's elite. And to Devin's point, it's like, yeah, I'm not necessarily going to go, ooh, it's 3rd and 5. I trust one of those guys man-to-man on a big down against Jamar Chase or something. No way in that department, right? But again, guys that you go, wait, they're really good players, and I'd like them to be on my team, and they certainly can play. And here's the one, the context clue, Devin, that I kind of brought up too. Because I know you're new to this and you haven't been like watching film of draft guys for the last 5 years or whatever else, but the guy at Alabama, the head coach, I mean, he's like your old coach, right? When he has good corners, he goes, you play man and you play man, and then we'll do a bunch of other crap with everybody else. And that to me was the context clue a little bit to what you were referring to. I feel like if Nick Saban really felt like they were Patrick Surtain and some of those other guys, right? Trayvon Diggs, it would have been man-to-man all the game. But he knew that they weren't that type of guy, and that was, something that clued me in. So you say Arnold 4, does that mean you'd put James from Auburn as number 3?
Yeah, I would. And again, I thought had all the athletic ability to play corner. And to me, like you just said, when your coach knows, like that's what good coaching is. Nick Saban knows what he has and he plays to it. I thought Auburn's defense to say, hey, DJ James, you're our guy. Go get Neighbors in the slot. Go get Neighbors on this big 3rd down.
Right.
Those different things showed me the confidence they had in him and obviously the confidence he has in himself. I just love that when you watch guys. And my sleeper guy, as I said before we jumped on, at 5 is my guy Max Melton. Yeah, I'm a little biased.
I don't think that's a sleeper. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I really would have loved, and the next time I see Shannon, I'm like, why don't you match my guy on Marvin Harrison all game? Give him a shot. You're going against arguably the best receiver in college football. And I thought if he would have been able to match him the whole game, he had a couple matchups where he did pretty well against him.
Yeah.
But Marvin Harrison had 2 touchdowns on my guy Longer Beam, which were, really good catches, back shoulder, 2-yard fade routes in the end zone. A lot of times you can't do anything about that. But I just felt like if Max Melton would have had that in his resume, teams right now would be just, oh my goodness, he matched up on Marvin Harrison Jr. We got to move him up. But obviously he shined at the Senior Bowl as well, then went and ran fast at the combine. But he's a long arm corner, physical, has really good ball skills. His brother's obviously a receiver in the NFL. With Bo Melton. So I'm looking forward to seeing him, and hopefully he sneaks into this first round, maybe high second round.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I think, Max Melton has a lot of the things we talk about. I know you're biased and whatever. I'm from Jersey too, but there's no denying when you see a guy like it goes again to what we talk about. His ability to just get up in somebody's face and go, I'm not worried about who you are, how fast you are, whatever. I got, elite athletic ability. And that's the thing we see. And I think he's another guy that, not only can be on the outside with the top end speed he has, but to me, has some hips and he's got some things to work on where he's a little raw maybe as compared to the top guys. But like he could be in the slot too. It doesn't matter. He could play man to man anywhere on the football field. I think I would be shocked, really. I think he's top 40 all the way. It's just, does he slip into the end of the first round or, top of the second there? All right. So, we hit on that. I'm really happy that you saw DJ James the same way I did because, right, DJ James, I don't know. I don't pay attention to all the lists as quite to your capacity, but I don't feel like I see his name, in the top 3 or top 5 corner conversation.
End of the top 10.
End of the top 10
usually,
is the corners, right?
Yeah.
So that's good we see it. But I do want to know, some other guys that pop to you that maybe not are in the top 5 for me or you, but you also looked at and went, wait, I like this player a lot. I'm not sure he's a top 5 cover corner, but he's a damn good defensive secondary player.
Yeah, 2 of those guys were Enos Rakestraw, 3 I'll say, and then DeCamerion Richardson from Mississippi State. And then I don't know how to say his last name, the slot corner from Michigan.
Yeah, Sainristil.
Oh,
Mikey Sainristil,
yeah.
Right.
Massachusetts guy, aggressive, physical. Seems like a guy you can put at safety, and certain defenses put him in the slot. Same thing we talked about before we got on with Rakestraw in Missouri. And what I liked about Rakestraw was they matched him on different guys. And sometimes I didn't even know if that was the best matchup, and he battled through injury a little bit last year. But it was just like, this is our guy, and it seemed like he loves to be in those situations. And two guys that I'm not sure if they would be corners in the league, like we talked about earlier, for me was going to be TJ Tampa and Iowa State. I thought a lot of his film was 8 to 10 yards off coverage, break downhill, will hit you, physical guy, but not much of it was like man-to-man, in your face. Not real. Like, I just thought it was safe zone defense and play to his strength, seeing the ball. And the same thing with Cooper DeJean. To me, great football player, can do multiple things, obviously his return ability. But like, when I watched, I just was like, no one would line this guy up at corner.
Exactly.
Just stiff, aggressive, could play safety, possibly a slot.
He's more Eric Weddle than he is a corner, I honestly thought.
Yes.
Right?
It seems like he can have a really good NFL career, but I just don't see him outside or even in the slot on a true slot 3rd and 8 situation. I could see him in the slot when the team's in 2 tight end sets or bigger slot receiver, things like that. But I thought he was a really good football player, but I would not draft him in the first round to play corner on my team.
Yeah, I got you. That's kind of how we broke it down too, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of how I looked at it as well. Like a lot of things about him, but there's no way I'm trusting him man-to-man against Jamar Chase on 3rd and 7. That'll be a highlight show for Joe Burrow and company. You know,
one of those players you said almost looks faster with the ball in his hands.
Exactly. I said as a returner, an interceptor, you're like, wow, that speed's great. Where's that speed when you're running down the field with the receiver?
Yeah.
We both like Sainer still. This is,
so
this
two
Michigan
of the names
fan
there.
over here.
Mikey Sainer still. I love Mikey Sainer still. He was always around the ball making big plays. 2 years as a defensive back. He was a wide receiver before that at Michigan. And so these are the guys kind of also receiving votes. And DeCamerion Richardson was also a guy. He's number 5 on your list, and that is outside of consensus. You see him sometimes, like not even on the first page of prospects for some. But you liked him as well, Devin.
Yeah, another guy can run, can stay with you. Neighbors he got him on a double move one time, and then he had another deep ball where he's in great position.
Yes.
And
Neighbor just made a great catch.
Makes a great catch.
Right.
But I thought time after time, matching up against the top guys, played a little bit into the boundary. And in college, I just love when the guys into the boundary because that's where a lot of the deep balls were coming. So it was just like teams were putting sometimes their X receiver, whether it was Leggett, different guys, they're in the boundary, and I'm seeing these guys like, all right, this is the matchup I want to see. I want to see you against this guy with an easier throw for the quarterback. He's not throwing all the way to the field. And I thought Richardson had some of those matchups, physical guy. And I think, like you said, Simms, a lot of these guys, when you watch them, you're like, they have different attributes that cross over that could make them really good NFL corners. And I thought Richardson had that as well. So I think it's in a little bit of an advantage when you're playing the SEC and some of these guys that you're playing against and you have a chance to shine. I think that's what it comes down to because NFL scouts want to evaluate you against NFL receivers, and they want to see that. And yes, everybody wants to watch you in your drills and your hips and all that. But like, what do you do when a guy sets up a route and he comes in there a little bit slow, explodes on an out route and then turns it up? Like, those are the things that you don't want to be teaching all the time for the first time once they get into the NFL, because the delicate part of your confidence at corners, we've seen it, Simms. You get a guy out there when he's young, he's learning, he's not really ready, but he gets beat time and time again. Sometimes those guys never really recover and become good players. So you want some of that teaching to not be the first time they've ever heard it once they get in there, because you don't have much time to get guys ready to go up against some of these animals that they're going to play week in and week out.
Yeah, I see that. That's where I think sometimes the draft community misses and looks a little too much technique-y stuff when it comes to corner, right? And like we talk about all the time, the great corners of all time, they didn't come into the league and we were like, oh, Champ Bailey, his technique is so great. We were just like, holy shit, he's fast, and he can run with anybody. And the same with Dion or Darrell Green or Darrell Revis or whatever, right? Where I think the mistakes made a lot of the times is it does get into, the technique, he plays zone, right? That was to me the problem with the Jeff Okudah. I liked a lot about his game, but everybody talked about the technique, and
Polished.
I was like, right, polished. So what? He's a finished product. I don't necessarily like that, to what Devin's saying, right? There's things you're going to learn, but I think what he sees with the kid from Mississippi State is similar to me. It's a little raw. It's not perfect, but he's tall, he's long, and he can run with anybody. And for being tall and long, he actually changes direction and stops and starts pretty good for that, which is rare, right? He's not going to be the guy you always want to match up against, a smaller, maybe change of direction guy. But the T. Higgins of the world, you're like, hey, DeCamarion Richardson, go out. T. Higgins, you're perfect to match up with him. I want to hit on the other guy you talked about, Rakestraw, right? Rakestraw really and Rakestraw might end up being in my top 5 safety things, because I liked him, but I just didn't love him at corner, and saw the things you saw. Like, they obviously thought he was the man. The attitude's the man. One of the guys I said to Ahmed was, I goes, he reminds me of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, really, with that attitude and physicality, right?
Yep, I like that.
Yeah, he hits you that way. I don't know if he's as good as, like, coverage-wise, man-to-man, as Chauncey Gardner was coming out of Florida, but it is that same physical attitude, safety, maybe nickel, like how Devin talked about a little bit before. Nickel against, maybe it's a tight end who plays in the slot a lot, or it's a bigger Michael Thomas, right, type of slot receiver. That's where he makes sense. But yeah, he was a tough eval for me, because a pure corner, I didn't love him, but as a can I have him on my defense to talk shit and be a safety and get in your face? That's where I loved Rakestraw, and it's just about a team having that spot that makes sense for him on their defense.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think from the standpoint of, like, a guy like Brian Branch coming out was just a safety, right? Branch is a safety. He goes to Detroit. Yeah, he kind of plays safety, but he kind of plays nickel corner too. So I think the way the league is now, those kind of guys that can do multiple things. You think of Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore, who is different than everybody because of his height and size-wise. But it's that guy he's a safety, but he also does a lot of corner-type things. And it's hard to find guys like that. I was a corner then a safety, but I was never a good blend of both of them when it comes to blitzing and then playing in the slot. I never felt comfortable in those places. So you don't always correlate a guy that plays safety and plays corner, and they're just that perfect matchup. But you watch guys like Brian Branch, and you see his ability to come off the edge on a blitz, or his ability to be in an outside leverage man-to-man defense and funnel everything back into his help in the middle, or match guys. Like, when you see those things, you look at Enos Rakestraw and you're like, all right, they lined him up outside a little bit. All right, they moved him inside a little bit. Okay, he's doing different things. Wow, he just blitzed on this play. He's aggressive. So I think those guys are hard to find in this league, because what we said earlier, you don't always see the translation, especially when you watch college offenses. It doesn't always transfer right over to what a guy's going to see from the NFL offenses. So having these guys that you can kind of see a future in, man, this guy can do this guy can possibly do that. Same thing like you just said with Richardson. Christian Gonzalez was very similar when he came out. I remember talking to the New England corner coach, and he was like, man, he's tall, but he can go out there and guard a 5'8" guy. Like, that's hard to find. And I think that's what teams have to see. All right, what is our defense? What are we going to ask the guy to do? And do we think he can do that? And I think Rakestraw is a guy that, if you had a Detroit-style defense where you don't necessarily have a true, like, nickel corner, but a kind of versatile poker chip that you want to just put in the slot, I think Rakestraw could be a guy that fills that role.
Yeah, I hear you there. I hear you totally. I think that's exactly what he's going to be looked at. Safety, nickel guy, right in between there. Like, what about, all right, so here's one more, because I know we have some questions from the homies that I want you to answer that are kind of around the corners and are a little bit New England Patriots-centric, so we got to get your opinion on some of those things. But I just, as I was sitting here talking to you, I was like, damn, like, all right, McCourty played with Darrell Revis, Aqib Talib, and Stephon Gilmore, right? I mean, it's three of the better island corners that we've seen in football over the last 20 years, right? To you, give us a little bit of like a thesis statement on all three of them, which made them special and why, and what, maybe why they were a little different than the other guy.
Yeah, man. Talib, to me, had the highest overall football IQ. Talib's thing was like he got to our team, and that week he started and played him every snap at corner, and just like would roll on the defense. Like he would be like, Dev, just give me the overall kind of coverages. Like, all right, I'd like Talib, this like cover 3. And he'd be like, cool. And why he loved to know that was Talib wanted to know where he could gamble.
Yeah.
It was always about how can I get an interception? How can I get the ball in my hands to make a big play? So if he knew where I was going to be or where the linebacker was going to be, and he would ask them, hey, you going to be 2 yards outside the numbers or you going to be on the numbers? I need to know exactly where you're going to be. He never minded, hey, if we had a double team here, he loved it. All right, Dev, if he go inside, you got him, and then I'm free. Because once he's free, he can go anywhere. Revis and Gilmore, don't double team with them. Don't do anything. Those guys are very similar, quiet guys until they get on the field. Then they're going to push you after the whistle if it helps, talk trash to you, but they just want to be on their guy. I want to know where my guy is. I always want to be up unless I think there's a good reason to be off because I know from a route recognition standpoint. So it was very interesting to me because I first played with Talib. So I was like, dang, okay, all these top corners, they're loud, they talk trash. And then Revis gets there, super quiet technician, stays up there whether he jams you or not. He knows every angle that you're going to compete at. And then when Gilmore got there, I could tell Gilmore was like in the image of Revis, of what he watched, what he studied. And I thought the difference, I thought they were similar, and I thought Gilmore had a little better ball skills and getting interceptions than Revis did. But to me, the cool thing about Revis was when you watch him in the game, it didn't surprise you because he barely ever got beat in practice.
Right.
Whether it was off season, we were training in Arizona, whether it was in season going against Brady on the practice field, it was like unbelievable to watch day in and day out. But those 3 guys, to me, when they got on the team, I was like, okay, now I see why I wasn't that good at corner because this is really good at corner.
So what? This is one of my favorite things about football is that everything affects everything else, right? It's like you have a bad secondary or they're getting beat up.
Right.
Invest in your defensive line to make the time that the quarterback has to throw a little bit less. There are different ways to do things.
Yeah.
So when you have 2 guys like that, like shut down island corners, well, like what does that do to you and the rest of the defense? Like how much easier is your job there, or just how different is it when you have that mentality and that guy out there that has that mentality?
The guy in their garden's done. Like you literally, and the cool thing about playing with those guys was you name it. It wasn't like, oh, only if they play this guy. We played against Devontae Adams in 2018 with Gilmore. Whenever we doubled Adams, Gilmore was like, hey, switch. And my brother took Adams and we doubled him, and he went to the other side and was like, okay, we got a double on Adams. Whoever Gilmore has, we're not worried about. When we had Revis, we played multiple guys. We played Green Bay again in 14, where Aaron Rodgers is killing us. So we have put Revis on Randall Cobb in the slot. Revis was usually outside. We said, you know what? You're going to go in the slot. So then Jordy Nelson's having a pretty good game. It was like, you know what? Revis, forget about that. Devin, you just stay in the middle of the field, read where Cobb goes. Revis, you go get Jordy Nelson. All right, we don't have to worry about that. It was just unbelievable. And the same thing when we played Atlanta, when Revis was there, he took Roddy White and we double-teamed Julio Jones, not like on certain plays. We double-teamed Julio Jones everywhere.
Every play, right.
Every play. And then we doubled double Gonzalez with the linebacker and the safety. And then Revis had no help on Roddy White, who was no slouch, was a really good receiver.
Right.
And it was like, you're in blitz coverage with no blitz the whole game. So my time in New England, we did things that was not sound football-wise, that you just don't do. But it was like, we have to take advantage of having these guys on our football team because other people don't have weapons like that you can say, go do this, and we'll just leave you by yourself for 60, 65 snaps and figure it out. And that was a cool thing for me that I don't see defense the same. We'll be sitting in there Sunday and we'll be watching a guy go off, and I'm sitting there like, just double team him. Just take him away and make the team do something else. You know he can beat you.
Right.
But it's a very interesting thing when you talk football because not everybody believes that.
You can do when you got corners like that, like he's talking about. Defense can really mess with the quarterback's brain, right? It really can. It's like you said, you're a quarterback. We've been taught by the head coaches and all the smart people of football about sound football, what should be done, what should not be done. And then you play a team like New England who might have the corners like he's talking about, and you're going, wait, they can't play this defense against this cover. This doesn't make sense. And they do it. And then you're like, wait, I don't know, who am I supposed to read here? Wait, hold on. We don't have a rule for this defense. No one, my coach never told me cover 0, double this guy, blah, 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 where the I'm supposed to go with the ball, right? And that's where it could be really cool. And that's where, I mean, again, like he was a part of that. Remember Mahomes' first year as a quarterback?
Sure.
AFC Championship game. Like, what coverage is this? The safety in the middle of the field keeps going to double Tyree. What are they doing? They couldn't figure it out for a full half. And then the second half, they came out and they finally figured it out a little bit and started to make a plays. But
it was a little different. Second half was a little different.
The second half was a little different. Yeah, the Magic Man got hot. He started to make some throws, and it became a fun game. But yeah, that's what a corner can really do. It frees up the rest of the defense, like he says, to be creative or do whatever else.
I love that. We could talk about that all day, but I do know that Devin probably has other things he has to do. We could talk forever. So Devin, we got a couple questions here from the homies. We got some Patriots questions too. Let's give you some of those. Here's Corey Joskowitz, who is a longtime homie. Always with the good questions. He goes, as a defensive back with some real brains, he's talking about you, Devin. Devin, can you speak to the difference in needs when covering a guy like Marvin Harrison versus Malik Neighbors? Is one a tougher matchup, a.k.a. who is tougher to cover, prime DeAndre Hopkins or prime Odell? So I guess we're looking at a big-bodied guy, tactician. Malik Neighbors, more of the speed guy. Like, how do you look at covering those guys?
Well, I think the thing that stuck out to me with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors was Neighbors lines up in a slot a lot. And I think not every corner has the ability to feel comfortable being in the slot. When you're on the edge against a guy, you can line up inside leverage. Your help is the sideline. You can force a guy into the sideline. When you're in the middle of the field, depending on if you have help or not, that guy kind of has a two-way go. And Neighbors has that quick feet, explosive, where he's setting guys up. Then sometimes it's kind of that pause and it's the crossing route where he has the speed to run away from you. So you got to know how you're matching up. So you asked me, which one would you rather go against, like a D-Hop or Odell Beckham?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because both of those guys were explosive guys that can take it the distance. DeAndre Hopkins, you couldn't cover him. He was covered so many times and he would come up with a great catch. So I always think it's hard. I think when you're not playing now, so when I'm not playing now, I look back on those careers, I'm like, I'd much rather play D-Hop because Odell Beckham has the speed. He caught more slants and went the distance. But then when you're out there playing, and I played against D-Hop over and over again, him being in Houston, we double-teamed him the whole game. So, yeah, he never had big games on us, but it was strictly because I would line up in the middle of the field, and on snap, I would run to wherever he's at. And if he ran a crossing route, I would run out of the middle, beeline for him, and get him. So when you think about the type of respect it takes to do that to a player, yeah, you can't say that you wouldn't be worried about him because you did everything possible to take him away. So
right.
Both those guys are excellent. I think the same thing with Neighbors and Harrison Jr. It'll be fun to see the transition into the NFL and how it kind of correlates and what they're able to do. But both guys are a fun watch.
So his answer on who he would rather cover, D-Hop or Odell, was neither. That was neither, I think, was the final.
He kind of
both.
went Odell a little there.
No,
he
but I get it.
Odell,
I get it.
But yeah, I mean, they're both awesome. It's both a pain in the ass. I think what he's trying to say is a guy like Neighbors or Odell has just got a little more versatility in their game to where the defense has to worry about, like he's saying, wait, he can do the Julian Edelman stuff, and yet he can go outside and run deep down the field and beat us for a bomb. So we always got to know where he is, and there's just a little bit of different of a plan of attack for a defense for that guy that gets moved around as compared to, let's say, the Marvin Harrison, DeAndre Hopkins type, where they kind of most of the game, hey, put him outside over here, let him win the one-on-ones. And like he said, even if he's covered, he's so big, his arms are so long, his hands are so damn good, we'll still throw it to him and he'll catch it. And, again, it's nothing's easy with those two, that's
Either
for sure.
one takes a whole lot of attention on the defensive side. Tomas Pena says to you, Devin, what are the main traits you look for in a safety to draft? How much would you balance the importance of athleticism versus high IQ?
I think Simms will agree with me on this. I think IQ is important. I think the hard thing for safeties now is you probably look more at the corners that can move the safety. You want to know, can the corner Does the corner have the football IQ that if I put him in the middle of the field, he understands what the linebackers need to do, what the corners, the slot, like, does he understand that? Because if he does, I'd rather take his traits and what he has and put him at safety, maybe than some of the guys that are playing safety every snap in college. So I think it's very hard. So when I look at those traits, I want to see a guy that's explosive and fast, not just, I think, prior years ago, you want to see a safety that can come down and hit you, be aggressive, put him at strong safety, even if he's a free safety, protect the middle of the field. The game doesn't really involve that as much anymore. You can't do some of the things you used to be able to do. So I think a lot of teams want to see the corner that might be 4.5 or high 4.4s. Can I move him to safety and him still be able to go sideline to sideline, still be able to read the defense and do those different things? And I think you see that a lot of guys that play safety in the NFL had corner backgrounds in college, whether it's their senior year or they started out as a nickel slot guy and then moved to safety. So I think that has taken over more of the safety position than the natural college safeties.
Yeah, it's changed that way, right? I mean, safeties and even when Devin was growing up in early days, like he was in college, safeties back then are like now the size of the linebackers. It's changed that way, I was in the era of, the linebackers were 245 and 6'3" or 250 and all that. And then at the end of my career, it started to change. Like, hey, let's find the faster guy here. Hey, instead of the safety being, 6'2", 235, let's move that guy to linebacker. And then, like he's saying, let's find the corner who's not as fast and great with the man-to-man skills. Let's move him to safety, right? It's become a passing league. It's more speed on the field, right? It makes a lot of sense. And, safety is one of those positions that, of course we want great physical ability, but as like what made Devin awesome or any good safety that I was ever around, they have a football IQ that is imperative to their success. Like, they are literally the quarterback version for the defense. They're the guy that can kind of be like, hey, you go here, you go there, you go here, and he can kind of look at the offense and go, ooh, I think they're going to run this play I watched on film all week. I'm ready for it, right? That's what was awesome about Ed Reed when you played him. You're like, wait, I know Ed knows he's supposed to be over there and cover 2, but he's got a tidbit here that he's got. What the fuck is he doing over here? He shouldn't be over here. I'm throwing the ball and like, oh, it's Ed Reed, and he's supposed to be over there, right? But that's the IQ, and that's where safety is truly a great blend of that. And that's why Devin was so awesome.
Devin, how often did you do that, stuff like that you knew that if it didn't work out, that Bill would have your head?
Every once in a while, I remember watching, because Bill loves Ed Reed. There's no safety he talked about in higher regard.
Right.
So then, as a player, you turn on Ed Reed and you're like, damn, Ed Reed has the half field all the way on the other side. Like, why is he over there? And I remember seeing it. I'm like, dang, all right. And Tom used to tell me, Tom was like, the worst thing you can do is when you're in the middle, just line up in the middle, because now I'm going to manipulate you any way possible. So then I started like, all right, I'm going to move over, do some Ed Reed things. And I remember Bill told me, this might have been my second year at safety, like, hey, we need you to take some chances. Like, as long as you're 9 out of 10 times right, we're good. And I was like, 9 out of 10? That's not taking a chance. That's like studied, it's going to hit. That's 90%. If you do anything at a 90% clip, you're elite. So you wanted to do a little bit of it, but Bill, as much as he loved it, you really had to be really good. The only guy that really did that I ever heard of was Rodney. They said Rodney Harrison would change the defense, do whatever he wanted. And they said Bill absolutely loved every minute of it. If you messed something up and you came off the field, they said all you had to say was, hey, Hot Rod told me to do it. And Bill wouldn't say anything about it.
Yeah, because Rod's awesome. Scary. Rod's scary.
Yeah.
Rod's a great guy.
Right,
He's scary.
Right.
He's just like, whatever you want.
Damn.
Mr. Harrison.
Yeah.
That's cool. 9 out of 10. As long as you only mess up, like,
that's such a
and for a 5-yard
New
game.
England. Just as long as you're perfect all the time, we'll have no problem with you.
Yeah, you give up 5 yards here and there because you took a chance. We'll live with that. Speaking of the Patriots, Devin, we'll leave you with these couple questions here. We got one from Y. Sean. What should the Patriots do with the number 3 pick? Select a quarterback or trade down?
I think you got to take a quarterback. I think it'd be awesome to fill needs by trading down. And I know I've talked to Mayo, and he said it publicly too. if somebody offers a ton of picks, then you have to trade down and take it. But I just think there's something about, I was on a panel actually this weekend with the draft, and one of the beat reporters up there, Mike Reese, said it reminds him of 1993 when they had a chance to take Drew Bledsoe, and it created this new hope for everybody in the building, the fans, like everybody was like, all right, we're getting this guy that we could see take us to the promised land. And I think New England needs that now. They need to get a guy that they believe in, that they think could be the guy. Even if this year doesn't go perfect, they just need to have somebody that I think everyone can say, all right, that at least is the future. Even if Jacoby Brissett goes out there and plays and starts, I think for the fan base and the players in the locker room to say, hey, Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, like one of these guys in 2 or 3 years are going to be the guy, the reason we're in the divisional round of the playoffs and a chance to go to the conference championship.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? I mean, I know we've talked about it a little bit. It's they have holes on their team. They can certainly go to trade down. I tend to kind of be on Devin's side of like, hey, you don't know when you're going to be here again. This is a pretty good quarterback draft class. And you know my phrase of like what I used with Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, beacon of hope, right? The beacon of hope is big in the locker room, for the fan base, for just how you're viewed in general, right? It's one of the reasons we talk about like, hey, one of our old buddies, Josh McDaniels, I think that was the problem with the Raiders. They hadn't had that young quarterback, nothing to look forward to, no beacon of hope. Ooh, when McDaniels gets this guy ready, right? So that just allows people to pile on. I feel like if, you know, the thing they have to do, and like we talked about a little bit, is if they have the same grade or a similar grade on Bo Nix, Drake Maye, and let's say J.J. McCarthy, and it's very close, and they can trade down maybe a few spots to where they can still go, wait, we can still get one of those guys but accumulate some picks, that might be a scenario I'd go, okay, do that, right? But that all depends on their grade and everything there as well. So we'll see where it goes.
Be right.
Yeah.
You got to be right.
You got to be right.
Well, that's the hard part too. Yeah.
Drake Maye becomes Josh Allen, then everybody hates you.
Well, yes, exactly right. That could be an issue, right?
And they went down this road not that long ago. You know, Mac Jones, they hoped he would be that guy that could run this offense, and that didn't work out. All right, last one for you here, and I think this is assuming they get a quarterback. Lucas Bytek says, Devin, as a former New England Patriot, what type of wide receiver would you pair with their future quarterback? And you can speak to this and maybe a little bigger picture, too, because we just saw it with Bryce Young last year. It's like you can get the franchise quarterback, but if he doesn't have enough around him, it's not going to work. It's going to put him in a bad spot. So if you were the New England Patriots and say you go with a quarterback with one of those top picks, you know, what are you looking at wide receiver? What are you looking at to put around that player?
Yeah, you need an explosive player. I think seeing what Nick Caserio did when getting C.J. Stroud, it was about solidifying the offensive line. I think that's your primary thing. But I think from a receiver, you go best available. I love A.D. Mitchell in Texas. Like I said earlier, I think Xavier Worthy's explosive guy. I think you got to find, for one, they got to decide, all right, what do we have, right? We signed back Kendrick Bourne. We drafted Tyquan Thornton. Demario Douglas is in there. So we have these different style of receivers. All right, what don't we have? And I think A.D. Mitchell is a guy that they don't quite have that you just love at the X receiver that can be the change of pace, can be a guy that can be a home run player, but also can be the guy when it's 3rd and 7 that can get open. I think Kendrick Bourne did that primarily for them last year before getting hurt. But I think once they do that, I think last year was a draft for them where they went Christian Gonzalez, Keon White, Marte Mapu, 3 defensive guys. I think now this year it has to be all offense. It has to be quarterback, receiver, offensive line, tight end, just as many weapons as possible that they can get and surround, whether it's the new quarterback that plays week 1 or Jacoby Brissett, that you just keep just adding talent. And I think their defense has found some guys that you say, all right, those are going to be cornerstone pieces. Offensively, when we look at the team, you don't really think of any young guys that you say are like, all right, that's going to be a cornerstone piece for years going forward. And I think they need to start finding that up front and at skill positions, guys that you're like, all right, these guys are going to be our future. We can kind of hang our hat on them being there to show everybody else the ropes. And I think this has to be a draft where they go heavy offense and try to fill as many needs as possible.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That's for sure. I mean, the defense, we know, was damn good. I mean, the defense was damn good last year. I mean, the defense was damn good the year before that. There's enough there that they can still be a top unit in football, right? All right. I mean, I think, McCourty's saying it right, really.
Speed. They need speed.
They need right.
Speed.
They got everything else
The
at receiver.
weapon.
You got the KJ Osborne, right? You can't trust Taquan Thornton and whether he's going to stay healthy. Kendrick Bourne is back, right? Juju Smith-Schuster's still there. Those are all great guys in the middle of the field, right? Run this route. You're perfect for that. But, yeah, they need a guy like he's talking about, whether that's Adonai Mitchell or, some other bigger type of guy out on the edge where they can just go, like, I think what he's referring to is like, hey, it's one-on-one, and let's just end the fucking conversation. He's going to beat him, throw him a good ball, and that's it. And even if he's covered, you could put it here or there and let him go get the ball. And we know there's some guys that are there to be had. If they did trade down or if they, top of the second, we know there's going to be some of those type of guys in the draft.
It's kind of like the draft almost starts there because it seems like Washington's going to stay put and pick some quarterback at 2. Anything could change, but
3 is interesting.
3 is very
3
interesting
and 4
for the Patriots.
because it's the Patriots at 3.
Yeah.
4 is Patriots West Coast with Monte Ossenfort, who's going to think just like the Patriots basically. So they're going to be interesting. And Monty was there all those years when we were drafting Devin and I was working in New England and all of that, where he was watching Bill trade down every year, and we saw him last year in his first draft just trade down. So I'll be interested to see what he does as well. That's going to be interesting though, that 3-4.
Well, Devin, we'll have to have you back. Chris has got his safety rankings coming up here, and so you got to definitely come back for that.
Do I have to have him back? I mean, he just said Rodney was a little bit better. Maybe we need to have Rodney on the damn thing. I don't know.
4 years for Devin at Rutgers. You had a pick 6 your first year. You had a pick 6 your second year, and that was it. No pick 6s after that for Devin.
They stopped coming my way, Ahmed. They were scared.
Hey, and next time you're on this damn podcast, wear the proper shirt, okay?
Yeah.
All right?
Button all the way up.
Ahmed doesn't even have
I don't
a
do
button
it.
up.
I can't do it. It's rare for anyone to be able to pull it off, and it's debatable whether Chris does as well. But
Thank you.
Devin,
Thanks so much
for
man.
hanging out with
really
us.
appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, fellas.
All right, see you, man. Be good.
Devin from home chilling there with the Team USA hoodie. I mean, he echoed a lot of the same things that you said. Well, I'm not surprised.
Well, so this is where you heard this conversation off screen last week. Remember Pete was like a little bit talking about, hey, do you think you'll see it this way and he'll see it that way? And I was like, man, Pete, my experience is that people who have been taught by, good football people and have been around it, we usually don't see the game that drastically different. Remember, I was trying to tell him there. I was going like, we might have our top 5 guys are probably going to be very similar. He might have 1, I might have him 2. Yep. He might have him 4, I might have him 3. Whatever, you know what I mean?
But you're looking for similar things.
Similar things, right? I mean, again, what do you think? You think that Mississippi State guy is still going to be a 6th-round pick? I mean, probably not, right? I mean, it's me. I'm not saying I'm know everything. But like I said, I've been around a little bit and seen some good corners and played with some. Yeah. And, of course, he's played with some of the greatest ever, right? So he saw, well, shit, this guy, he can stick his foot in the ground. He can fly. He's long as hell. What's not to like about him, right? And I think so that's what I think is the interesting thing. And that's what I find more times than not when you know this, and I don't always share this stuff, when I talk to my coach friends and all that, we more times than not see things very similar. Maybe not exact, but very similar in a lot of ways.
The hard part for you in Devin is that the film and all that stuff is a huge part of it, a huge chunk of it, but not all of it. These interviews with the players,
the work
and the
ethic,
medicals,
and exactly
the attitude.
Yeah, the man would be the next thing, right? And that's where you try to glean a little of that, like he was talking about with the Enos Rakestraw, right? You try to glean some of that from the film to go, well, this guy here, he just wants to compete and play, and you could tell he loves the game, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then those would be things that I would love to have that to my advantage.
A corner doing the incomplete sign, if he just did that on the tape, he would move up 5 spots.
He gives a little attitude. He gets in the guy's face. He yells at everybody a little bit. Like, you're moving up. But those are things, though, that are tangible pieces of evidence, though. Right? I can tell you, I've been like, even when I was a young player in the NFL, and we might have had the kids from a college, they're visiting the facility, and you might meet 2 defensive tackles, and they're both going somewhere between 10 and 25, right? You can meet them, and one of them you could go, this dude is like got the alpha, I'll lead the team personality. The other guy was just like, I'm the man, I'm big, right? And I would, well, yeah. I mean, hey, again, my experience would tell me the guy that was, charismatic and happy to be here and could lead a conversation, and you could tell there was excitement just to be around football. Yeah, my bet is he's going to be better at football too if the talent's somewhat equal.
Totally.
Right? Yeah,
you know what's funny about that is that reminds me of when we were doing college basketball and Josh Pastner, former coach at Georgia Tech in Memphis, he looked for this for his recruits. He goes, there's two types of guys. There's an energy giver and an energy taker. And he's like, those energy takers, they're energy takers. He's like, you have to supply them with, people around him have to supply him with energy, get him going. Hey, come on, let's go. And it's just like, that is exhausting. That's a tax.
Can be exhausting.
That's a tax on the coaches. That's a tax on your teammates.
Right.
Where the energy givers are the exact opposite. It's just like you come in a little down. You're just like, I'm not totally pumped. And they're coming in. They're getting you pumped up. And
the guys you're referring to are the guys we say, like, we got to babysit this guy, right? That's what that means. We got to babysit him a little bit. We got to make sure he's on top of the details. I mean, we got to manufacture the energy for him every day, right? There's that guy. And more times than not, that's not the guy that, a lot of coaches want in their locker room. Now, there's one or two in every locker room. There's nothing you're going to do, right? It's 1,000 people in the NFL as players. But, like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh ain't looking for those guys. He's looking for, wait, who are the psychos that love football that I basically have to be like, hey, calm down. It's just practice here today, right? That's what he's looking for. Same with Shanahan, right? Shanahan, the NFLPA guy had to go on the field last year and go, hey, you guys need to stop practicing so hard, which is like the weirdest thing ever. Remember when we talked about that a little bit?
Yeah.
The NFLPA representative went in the middle of the field during practice and literally was like, this is too crazy. And they were like, this is how we practice. And what are you doing stopping our practice anyways? You don't work for the 49ers, right? So that's the kind of guys you're looking at. Again, it's the same thing you see with the Chiefs. You go in the Chiefs and you go to practice, you go, holy shit, did these guys love being out here? It just, you feel it. I wanted to get in the drills before the playoff game when I saw the Chiefs because it was just like, they were ready and let's work and do that. And that's where, again, the word culture, right? That comes from that type of stuff. And that's why you want those type of guys.
All good stuff. I loved that. Devin can come back whenever he wants to. We've got some questions coming up here, but let's take a look at some pro day, some quarterback pro day stuff because we haven't done that here on the pod.
Right.
And I think we should just start, Pete and Kristen back there, if we could, just with a video and just take a look at the video. And if you want to move a guy up or down in your rankings because of the video, here's Drake Maye, who you famously have as the number 6 quarterback, but he just hit a guy in stride running left. And now look at this perfect arc. One-handed catch, 2 for 2. Would you like to move him in your rankings?
You're funny.
No, but really, what did you take anything away from Drake Maye's pro day?
I did. I took a lot away from it. First off, he's clearly number 6 for me. That's not changing. It's and the pro day, I would tell you, it probably confirmed it for like 100% that he's number 6. Yes, I did not come away from that pro day going, oh wow, I feel differently. Right?
It didn't even look like he was really trying.
Well, those were, I think, warm-up throws, some of them. But it became a little bit of that because he was losing control of the ball. So it became a little bit, let me just complete the pass. And it wasn't even a realistic workout in some ways. The urgency in which he threw, some of the routes and things downfield. Listen, there's still some eye-popping throws where you go, damn, that's a good one, right? Don't get me wrong there. I got that. But it's still too many throws where I go, what? Number 3 pick of the draft wouldn't throw a ball like that in 3 months, let alone like third time in the last 10 throws, right? So that's, to me, again, it's still the same problems there. When you watch it, again, I came away going, well, that had no feel of a number 3 pick of the draft type of guy. I came away unimpressed. The ball floated in the air too long on a lot of the down the field throws. I know there's like 2 or 3 on social media that were, hey, that's awesome, and they were great. I get that. And that's what
Zach Wilson had one of those that floated on social media.
But I'll say Zach Wilson also had like 100 other piss missiles where we were like, whoa, holy shit, right? That was just the crown jewel of them all. That one where both feet were off the ground, he threw it across the field, right?
Drake Maye didn't want to make a mistake. Or that's what it kind of looked like after a while.
He started it off a little shaky, and he missed a few throws like we talked about where it's against air and people are turning around or having to slow down to catch the ball. Then he threw a few out routes that went like way over guys' heads where they couldn't even attempt it. And then it became, ooh, let me just kind of make sure I complete the pass, right? Again, there's still some attributes about his game that you certainly love. I know that. But there's things that scare me as a quarterback guy. There are, and it's, you know, not only some of the mechanical things we talked about, right? I don't know if they're that easily fixed. That's my big thing, let alone there's things you see on film and play that, again, I would sit here and go, no way is he the number 3 pick of the draft. Like, absolutely no way. Right.
So Nuevo Huevo says, do you think guys value upside too much when evaluating quarterbacks? I think one reason Maye is higher on consensus is that people are scared to miss on guys deemed high upside projects who then become superstars like Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I get that, right? You know, but to me, there's a difference in that film. That's what I think people are missing. I know we're talking about a big guy who runs well, and we have a few highlight throws down the field that we go, wow, right? But like, if you watch Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, right? Their bad throws are not even in the same stratosphere as Drake Maye. Their bad throws are like, oh, they barely missed the target, or maybe they made a bad decision and they thought, oh, I could fit this in there. But the throw was perfect, right? I don't care. Like, okay, they made a bad decision because Josh Allen's a knucklehead and he thinks he could throw it 140 miles per hour through a keyhole, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that, but the throw, I go with that. I would come away going, that was the most fucking unbelievable throw I ever saw in my life. Incomplete. He got intercepted, right? Or you'd see like Justin Herbert, same thing. Like, nobody's open. Nothing's there. He literally hit the defender in the head, right? Yeah. Because the defender of the head was in the way of the receiver who wasn't open's hands, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't come away going, eh. That's the opposite with Drake Maye. That's Drake Maye, as you saw, even yourself, let alone I know others, right? And that you just see too many
novice film reviewer
guy, exactly. You see too many where you go, wait, the guy is open. Yeah. And it's incomplete, or it skips on the ground, or it's way over his head. And those are the things, you know, has to be worked on, like we talked about, and still the pocket stuff and staying on the first receiver a little too long. Again, there's a lot of good there. There is. Don't get me wrong. But I think there's more work to be done. And I don't think the film is as good as people are trying to make it out to be. I keep hearing those two phrases. It's a lot like Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, and I want to go, we need to sit down together and watch Josh Allen and Justin Herbert old film together, and I'm going to show you that he never misses a throw like this. They never throw a slant like that. They don't ever do that, and you know that's where we're at with Drake Maye.
Devil's advocate, if you were to take the best 5 throws from Drake Maye and compare him to everyone else, I would think that there are evaluators that say you can't coach that. Like, what he has there is a rare skill set.
I hear you.
And we'll fix all the other stuff. Like, he's got inconsistencies. We think there's something wrong with the throwing motion.
I gotcha.
We'll fix that.
Right.
But those 5 throws, like what he did there, like no matter how much we coach some of these other guys, they'll never be able to do that.
Right.
Is there that for Drake Maye?
There is that. I mean, but the only problem is Caleb Williams can make all those throws for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like and then some, right? So that would what I would say to you there. Jayden Daniels can also make some really special throws that way too. So I don't want to discredit them by your point though of yes, if you saw his 5 best throws, you'd go, ooh, wow. Right? Like we talked about when we did the quarterback ranking. But even within that, okay, I still see those throws and his mechanics and just go, again, the mechanics I'm talking about, I go, I don't know if you can fix them. They're not easy fixes here. This isn't just like, oh, we got to make the motion a little tighter or we got to change one little thing about the footwork. There's multiple things to work on. And the way he looks and throws and delivers, even though it looks great downfield, my lifelong thing has gone, I don't love that delivery. I don't like the way that looks. It's segmented at times, and therefore that's why the ball does go all over the place, let alone there's some things he does with his arm and his feet that are just not mechanically sound.
Well, now it's time to look at the delivery of the lefty in the draft. Michael Penix Jr., you was your number 4 quarterback in this draft ranking. I think we have his pro day as well, so we'll see if we want to move him. Oh, slow motion. Oh, that's perfect for looking at the mechanics.
Oh, his throwing motion is sweet. I mean, and now again, we're only gonna, from this tape right here, we're gonna see a few throws. It's not gonna be anything like we're gonna see a ton here. But it was one dime and unbelievable throw after another. I mean, people are sleeping on Michael Penix Jr. I understand that he's got an injury history, right? But damn, aren't we looking for guys that can throw the ball, make good decisions, and who have played a lot of ball, right? That's all I keep hearing. He's played a lot of ball. He's played a lot of ball. Oh wait, this guy played a lot of ball. We don't like him. We don't know why. I don't know. He hurt his knee 4 years ago. Oh, is that the only reason why? Michael Penix is a top 20 pick in the draft. No doubt about it for me. Like, he is too good. He showed it there. I think out of anybody's pro day, out of any quarterback, maybe any player at all, I think Michael Penix Jr. helped himself.
Ooh.
I do. Because one of the concerns was, he's a little frail, like we've talked about at the right? Well, you could see he did a little workout the last 6 weeks. He ain't the same frail guy. He's jacked, right? I think people questioned how good of an athlete he was, right? When we were sitting on here, I go, he's a better athlete than he's getting credit for, right? He makes people miss and sets up and makes throws way more than people are letting on, right? Let alone, you see a few times when he tucks it and runs and turns the corner and you go, wow. But him to run a 4.5 like that, yeah, it's going to change people. Let alone, again, you're going to continue to watch the film and just go, damn, does he ever miss these throws? It's so many good decisions. He's just a natural at the position. There is no way you can watch Michael Penix Jr. film and Drake Maye film, or Michael Penix Jr. Pro Day and Drake Maye Pro Day, and tell me that you think they're on the same playing field right now. There is no way. Again, I feel that strongly about it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes. The Drake Maye thing, you're hearing more and more as we go here. Gerard Mayo referenced it last week. He needs some work.
Well, I'm not surprised. People either are Chris Simms or start sounding like Chris Simms after a while. The Raiders 24, at the Raiders 24, says, do you think the Raiders should draft Michael Penix Jr. at 13? How high could he go here? If not, which quarterback should we draft? Looks like only Bo Nix and Penix will be left for us to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? I'm again, you heard me. I think the Broncos sitting there at 12, if they're there at 12, and let's just say, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, and McCarthy are off the table, I have a hard time thinking there's no guarantee. I could see Sean Payton liking Bo Nix, like I told you. Bo Nix, he's worthy of that.
Yeah.
The Raiders at 13 with Michael Penix Jr., yes, sign me up. I'd be all for that. They should be all for that. Again, you're getting a mature guy who could kind of come in right away and play and give your whole locker room and your fan base like, hey, there's somebody exciting in our team, future, like Devin McCourty was just talking about, right?
Let's get crazy.
Yeah.
Let's say the Washington Commanders feel the same way about Michael Penix. It's like there's not a whole lot separating all these guys. We want to take a quarterback. We don't want to trade down because we don't know who will miss, but we love Michael Penix. We'll take him number 2. How high is too high for Michael Penix?
I think that's when you're probably risking a little bit or getting a little too high, right? I go to my old phrase again, like I always say, like if Blake Bortles can be taken at 3, anybody can. Okay, that's what I'm going to say that, and I don't mean to say that as a shot to Blake Bortles.
But that's nothing but a shot.
I know.
It's like
Well, who else
that.
can I? There's other quarterbacks I probably could have named too, and go, if you could take him there.
Just look at the last draft that we had all these great quarterbers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
None of them are first round quarterbacks outside of Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly right. So there you go. But at the same time, I'm never going to say anything's too high. As far as like if you have a need and this is the guy you're sold on, then I don't question that. I'm all for that, right? But within the normal balance and value of a draft, right? Okay, 2 or 3 for a guy who's had 2 knee surgeries and some other injuries and was a little older. That would be normally a little too rich for that guy.
But mid-first round, you're like, let's go.
Definitely. I feel like once you start to get outside of 8, I start to go, okay. I've definitely seen worse than Michael Penix Jr. drafted somewhere between 8 and 20. Like Michael Penix Jr.'s film compared to Kenny Pickett. Are you kidding me? Come on. Like it's and the talent too. It's not just the film. It's the talent, right? So that's what drives me crazy, right? Where I sometimes I don't know. Christian Ponder was picked at number 10.
Yeah.
I don't want to go like Michael Penix Jr. compared to Christian Ponder. Come on. There's not even a question. So why can't Michael Penix be at 9 or 10, right?
Why can't Michael Penix be Christian Ponder is what we're saying, Dare to dream. The Raiders 24 also said, Ahmed, did you mention you play rugby on the pod last week? If so, can you rep a rugby jersey on the show next week? I didn't say I played. Right, I maybe did and mistakenly said that.
I think I remembered that.
But I do cover it here at NBC, and I have been a longtime proponent of more rugby in NFL. Like, that's one of the things. Not only a proponent, but I just think it's going to happen. Like, I'm more sure of that than anything, that we will see rugby seep into the game. Which, again,
we're
the
seeing
Chiefs
already, though.
The Chiefs have done it with Travis Kelce. Loves doing the pitch. Would have been the play of the year.
The tush push is rugby-ish.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. But I'm talking more like the laterals and and all that stuff.
Well, the tush push also did the tush push and
true.
lateral out a little bit. Like, it was very rugby this year.
Well, and the Chiefs just signed a 3-year deal for Louis Rees-Zammit, who was one of the stars of rugby in Europe.
I'm sure there's
Welsh
things the NFL
star.
the NFL steals from everything. So whatever they feel like they can get an advantage from, they will do it as far as schematics, right? We know that. So I'm actually starting to come around to your thought there.
You think it's going to happen?
That we might see a few more rugby-ish type of plays here the next few years.
And what if the game completely changes, and then we have to have rules to bring it back to what we knew and loved all those years? Jayden Daniels, Pro Day. Let's take a look at that. As we switch to our Pro Day,
I was really impressed
carousel
with
here. Good hoodie. I like that look.
Yeah.
Purple's always a good look. All right, here we go. Fake handoff. Good. Over the top. Right on the money, I would assume.
Yeah, he was a lot of on the money. It really was. I mean, Jayden Daniels' pro day was phenomenal, right? Caleb Williams played it safe and just, threw the ball and checked the box and showed everybody, hey, look, I'm here and I can do this easily. But, didn't push the boundaries at all. Wasn't like, oh, let me wow everybody, right?
Yeah.
Jayden Daniels, I think it was a little bit like, hey, wait, I hear all this J.J. McCarthy stuff and, Caleb Williams is one. Let me remind you how good I am a little bit. I mean, he's an effortless thrower. I love that. He's tall as hell, right? And he is a guy that, like we talk about with Justin Herbert sometimes, he can throw over the line of scrimmage, right? Because he is so tall to see there, right? He doesn't need space. That was the thing I loved about the workout in general, and I talked about a little on PFT last week. They did a lot of throws where he threw the ball down the field, and his quarterback coach would stand right in front of him, right? So he couldn't step into it. So he's throwing a 20-yard crossing route or a 20-yard in cut, and it's like he can't really step, and he's just got to do it. Those are throws you got to make in the NFL. He does it easily. I mean, easily. Let alone showed off a little bit with some of the deep ball throws, right? So I'm a very big Jayden Daniels fan. You know that.
Commanders fan number 1, who could be a Jayden Daniels fan here very soon. How much does the 1-year jump all of a sudden for Jayden Daniels concern you, given the fact that it took him 5 seasons to become this good?
Well, don't always go into all that, right? At Commanders fan number 1, right? I hear what you're saying, but again, think about people like here's. People have recognized the talent of this guy for a while and think he's good. Like Antonio Pierce, right? He loves Jayden Daniels. He was at Arizona State with him. They've seen what makes him. Don't put all everybody else's problems on the quarterback, right? He got in a better support system, and in 2 years he went, whoa, we all went, whoa, this guy can play quarterback and he's really good. Holy crap, right? So it was hard at Arizona State, some of the situation there. And again, don't judge people on what they were doing when they were 18 and 19, right? This is one where I'm a little bit more a believer in what we've seen right now here in recent history, not what he was 4 years ago when he was 17 and, still learning how to live on his own in a dorm room, right?
Yeah.
Right? So the skills are there. The play has been top-notch the last 2 years, and I think it's going to continue to go and trend in that direction.
Let's go full circle on your quarterbacks before we get into a couple Ask Me Anything here. Red and purple 77 here. So we'll go full circle. We'll go back to Drake Maye because now maybe Vikings fans are starting to feel like maybe he'll drop. Maybe Drake Maye will drop to us now, and this will all work out perfectly. If Drake Maye sits for a year under Kevin O'Connell, would you anticipate him reaching his ceiling? And then what is his ceiling? So that's the idea now, is that maybe he's more of a Jordan Love, sit behind, although there's no Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Sit behind Sam Darnold and learn the game.
It would make me feel better. I mean, certainly. You're going into a spot that I would go, that's definitely one of the ideal spots in football to go play quarterback, right? With that guy, he's gonna not only teach you football, he knows about throwing a little bit, right? He's gonna be able to devise an offense where, hey, you might have a problem with these throws, but don't worry, I'll figure out some other ways to still make you look good with other throws, right?
Justin
Build the
Jefferson
confidence, right? You got the talent around him, so that would certainly change my thought that way. Right? I don't see as high-end talent as I did with Jordan Love. we talked about this a little bit before the podcast because one of our producers was asking us a little bit about that. Like, Jordan Love excited me more than Drake Maye. I feel like if like he asked me to make a comparison, right? Did he say a little bit like
what's his ceiling?
Yeah. I honestly feel like his ceiling is, for me, is
Sam Darnold.
I was gonna say Jared Goff.
Okay.
All right, that to me is what it could be. All right,
okay. Number one overall pick.
Yeah, I know. But that's kind of what I
take
look
him
at
in year 8 when
He's
he
a
comes to
better
the Lions.
athlete, Jared Goff. Maybe that would be the way to say it. Maybe a little more athletic potential there, right? But again, I can't stress to you enough. The throwing is just not as bullseye, as machine-like as you would like for a first-round quarterback. It really is not, and that's what it really, really bothers me.
All right, some Ask Me Anything questions now as we roll through this. Well, where are we? We got about an hour in here, so we got some time for some good questions from the homies. Edge prospects you did last time we were together,
right?
And so got some buzz on that. JD's Burner says, listening to the Edge pod, seems like there's a lot more bust potential with the Edge prospects this year. A lot of high-end traits, but no all-around studs. Do you think the same?
Yeah, I do to a little bit. I don't want to say bust. I think some of the guys are maybe not like we kind of talked about. The top guys, I don't know if I'm guaranteed superstar. Or I got guys that I go, he's a really good player, and I want him to play on my defense for a long time. But I don't know if I see superstar in some of these guys, which I think we were maybe led to believe a little bit. But yeah, again, a guy like Chop Robinson, there's some questions, some things that are issues for me there. I don't know, right? Dallas Turner, we talked about it. There's all the traits. You get to see everything. Does it get to be put together to where even a novice film watcher like you sit there and you're like, it's not that crazy impressive.
Yeah.
Am I really watching the number 8 pick of the draft,
Not
right?
physically dominating out there.
Right, not like you said, like Tyree Wilson last year from Texas Tech. He was the number 7 pick of the draft, and you were like, whoa, he wrecks every play. This is crazy, right? So there's a little bit more of a projection potential, right, of all that. I think the one that we agree on that is, the best at this second, right, and I feel like there's really no bust potential is Latu, right? But I don't think his high end can be what Dallas Turner's can be, as I explained. I mean, I think Dallas Turner could be like literally Von Miller or something like that. That's special, right? So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, there, JD's Burner, it just was a group of maybe high end superstars as I thought it was going to be. And there's some questions about some of those top guys.
He wants to know where Dallas Turner would rank in previous years. So last year you had Tyree Wilson 1.
Right.
You had...
I can't even think of who it is now. I need to totally revisit this.
I know. Hold on. Pete's looking it up here.
I know I had
Tyree Wilson
Will McDonald 3, maybe, or 4.
Lucas Van Ness.
Van Ness.
Yeah. Will McDonald.
Yep.
Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker, Jermaine Johnson the year before.
Right. Oof. Yeah, Jalen Phillips the number 1 year prior to that. I mean, he wouldn't be in front of Jalen Phillips. He wouldn't, if you just went on film, he wouldn't have been in front of Tyree Wilson last year.
Right.
No. The year before that was hey, Chase Young and all that. Again, Chase, I like Chase, definitely. It was stiff. We talked about that a little at the time where you were like a little worried about that. I think in a lot of years, right, he's probably like the second guy or the third guy. But then also within that guy, we're like, oh my gosh, Dallas Turner, he's my number 2, but he could be like, oh my gosh, wow, right?
If he turns into a superstar, you're not going to be surprised.
No, I know. And I still won't be surprised because I think, ultimately that's why I put him 1. There is too many things. I saw enough tangible evidence to go, okay, it might not be the complete package yet, but I saw, this corner of the package is awesome, that corner of the package is awesome. He seems like he's willing to work hard and he plays hard, so it's going to come together at the right time.
At Nate Witt PT says, hey, what about Darius Robinson out of Missouri? Are you considering him a defensive tackle, or was he not good enough to make the edge list?
No, he will be. I'm gonna make him a defensive tackle. He's right. I put him on that list there. Okay. I tried to stay with the edge guys of true edge, as we know, pass rusher type of guys. Right. That's what I try to do. Guys that are 5 techniques who line up directly ahead of the tackle or play a little bit more of a defensive tackle thing, right? Yeah, I'm gonna value him a little bit more as a tackle and then go, hey, he can do some DN and stuff like that. But yeah, I did not evaluate him as a defensive end. I haven't watched him yet specifically other than seeing crossover film of other guys and stuff like that. I know I've seen him in person and I've talked to him. And he's got the attitude we talk about, and he's got the body that I know will translate to the NFL. No doubt about it. He is a bigger hybrid type of defensive lineman, right? That's the big thing. He's not your, let's let him get wide and just rush the guy around the edge. He's got a little bit more nuance and versatility to his game.
All right, so we will talk about him. The Falcons control a lot at number 8. A lot of people think they're going to take the first defensive player in this year's draft.
Yeah.
8 chains with a Z on the end says Dallas Turner or Quinyon Mitchell for the Falcons at 8. I feel we have a better shot at getting a pass rusher on day 2 than a cornerback 2.
That's a good one there. There definitely will be some pass rushers that are available on day 2 at the top of the draft that you would think, okay, that definitely can help their football team, right? I don't know if I feel that way about the corner position, right? So that's where you got to figure that out, right? And again, I know there's some guys on that I like as players, like we talk about, like who might be there at the top of the second, but it depends what they're looking for, right? And how are they evaluating A.J. Terrell right now, who's been a little banged up the last few years? But, yeah, I mean,
I think you were more excited about your guys in contention for the 5 spot at edge than you were the guys in contention for the 5 spot at corner.
I think so. I think that's fair to say.
Like the Jonah Ellis out of Utah
exactly.
and the Austin Booker out of
exactly,
Kansas.
Exactly, right. That's what I was referring to. I think there's more guys you can get at the top of the second at that position. Corner, again, we like a lot of them. I get it. But to me, yeah, there's 2 special ones that kind of jump out, right? Right? And McCourty talked about that. I guess what I wonder is
team need,
how they evaluate it, what Raheem wants to do. Raheem is not a huge man-to-man cover type of guy. He's really about zones, passes it off, different types of zones, all of that. So I don't know where he stands there, but I think that's my thought, though. If it's like, wait, it's one of those 2 positions, then I would go take Quinyon Mitchell and get the guy at the top of the second.
We got a question on Marvin Harrison Jr. Who's gonna run routes against these top corners in the NFL now?
Yeah.
M. Parham 15. Love the pod. Been listening since the Bleacher Report days. Have you watched Marvin Harrison Jr.'s 2022 film?
Yeah.
When he had Stroud,
right.
And does that change your opinion of him at all? We were just talking about this today.
I watched a little, and I saw, of course, a lot last year. Right. Like, this is where I think a little bit sometimes is a good question, right? And I think this is where, like, I hear this a little bit in the draft thing. Like, oh, Marvin Harrison's, it's not as good because of the quarterback he had this year, right? Because he had Kyle McCord. Go back and watch C.J. Stroud, and you'll feel better about him, right? I'm not looking at any of that, though. I hear the same thing with Drake Maye. Oh, he lost Josh Downs, and they weren't as talented at receiver this past year. I don't really care about any of that. Again, that's to me, you're looking at team stats, the offense, all of that. When the guy is open, can he throw the ball exactly where he needs to go? I don't give a shit who the receiver is, right? It's like, I don't give a shit who's throwing to you if you're Marvin Harrison Jr. How much did you separate? I don't care.
You would almost rather see the quarterback play with a less talented wide receiver so you know it's the quarterback that's doing the work and not
to a degree,
the wide receiver.
To a degree, and
vice
sometimes
versa
it's the receiver, right?
Yeah, right.
Again, the plays that I want to tell you, or, at M. Parham 15, like, you bring up a good point, but here would be one of the things I tell. I'm not going to go back and go, wow, I mean, watch C.J. Stroud just drop it in his pocket every throw. Yeah. Wow, you know what? That's right. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the top receiver because I watched him not get open and C.J. Stroud just drop the ball into his pocket all the time, right? So, again, that's where I think, like, our continued, and I had these problems too. Like,
hard.
Where you got to kind of block some of that stuff out sometimes and go, wait, the result doesn't really matter, right? Don't be so result-oriented, right? Oh, I know he caught an 80-yard touchdown pass, but he was wide open and nobody's in the screen. Is that special, right? You know what I mean? So, oh, wait, a top corner was covering him, and he gave him a little move and then just blew by him, and the quarterback threw it 10 yards behind him. It was incomplete. That play. That's the play. I go, damn, look at him. He just burned that guy. That's a top corner. I don't give a shit that he didn't catch the ball. He showed me that I know in the NFL the quarterback will be able to hit that throw, right? So that to me is where some of the misevaluations or our thoughts get confused a little sometimes with that type of stuff. Does that make sense? I hope I explained it the right way.
We all do it. You know, you look at the stats and, man, this guy had 1,300 yards for Oregon, right? And it's just like, okay, how did he get those?
Yeah, right. Like in Devin today. He didn't feel comfortable making Quinyon Mitchell because he wants to see him against top guys, right?
Yeah.
You know, I obviously felt comfortable about that, you know, and I've been doing this a little bit, but like his point's real, right? Again, I watch a good guard in the Big 12 and I watch a good guard in the SEC and it's kind of equal. I'm going with the good guard from the SEC because I know he is blocking NFL defensive tackles, right? And the Big 12, I'm like, I don't know if there's an NFL defensive lineman in the league. So I don't know what the hell is going on there, right? So, yeah, there is some of that. I get it.
Yeah, teams are looking for certainty in the draft, for sure.
Yeah.
Not Bucky Cox wants to know about these wide receivers, too. Chris has said in the past that he wants a wide receiver room like a basketball team with guards, forwards, and centers. Which position are each of his top wide receivers, and can he list his top 3 wide receivers for each position? So that's a lot of work. Let's just look at your wide receivers here first and see if you have a guard, forward, and a top center.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Out of your wide receivers that we have. So,
well, my point, or like the point shooting guard is Neighbors, right? Right? I think it'd be what you want, right? Like in the perfect world, you know,
like, what do you mean? Like, what is a guard wide receiver? What is a forward wide receiver? And what is a center wide receiver? A guard
wide receiver is like a little bit more of like, hey, he can dribble around everybody. He can hit shots. He can braid ankles. He can move around, do all that type of stuff, right? Now I need like
faster than everyone else out there.
Faster than everybody else too, right? The best athlete on the court.
Yep.
Right? Odell, Neighbors, Jamar Chase, right?
Yep.
Point guard, shooting guard, whatever. Killer, just kill you that way, right? But then you got like your T. Higgins, who's like a power forward. You need a little power forward every now and then.
Yep.
You know, can't always get open. Sometimes he needs to use the body and box him out a little bit, and then got to throw the ball over there, right? You know, so that's what I mean by that.
Center's A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Right? No?
Well, it could be something
forward?
like, well, he could be power forwardish, but same type
Don't
of
tell
thought.
me the center. We're losing the center in football, too.
No.
We're losing it in the NBA.
We got that kind of thing, though. But I think what we're saying there, you know, the big guys, the center, the power forward, whatever, right? The point guard, explosive guys, Neighbors, right? The Odunze is the shooting guard, right? He's like, might not be the high flyer. He might not be the guy that can break your ankles, right? But he just knows how to play the game. And, you know, you get him open, he's going to knock it down, right? He's kind of that guy. But you're not like, oh, my gosh, did you see those quicks? Did you see that lift he had when he was going up for the dunk? But you're kind of like, man, he's good at everything. Ooh, look at him handle the ball. He's smooth. Ooh, ooh, and he's got a little like fake and up and under. And you know what I mean? That I hope can explain, you know, the thought a little bit there. So
Brian Thomas could be like a wing or something like that.
Brian Thomas could be
athletic wing.
Brian Thomas can be like exactly your athletic, like Anthony Edwards of the Timberwolves right now, right? Where it's like, yeah, he's just a freak, and we're gonna let him run up the court and fly over people and just make highlight type of shit happen, right? He's like your superstar, high flying guard. Neighbors is your point guard, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is the power forward type of guy, right?
I would like to see that in a game, all those wide receivers together. You know, I've thought about this in the past because
wide receivers would win in the NFL and in basketball tournament for sure.
Oh, just like
if you did 3-on-3 and it was like let's do 3-on-3s around the league. The 3-on-3, the best receiver team will win the basketball tournament. Right, definitely.
Quarterbacks probably can shoot.
Quarterbacks will be shoot. We'll box out. We'll be fundamental. There's no doubt about that, right? But yeah, then I mean, like Jamar Chase and Odell are gonna dunk on us, and they're gonna D us up sometimes, and we're like, damn, I gotta shoot a old man fadeaway hook here to get a shot off, right? They're special athletes.
Pete says running back, but when I think about running backs, I just see them shooting, and it's just so stiff.
Yeah, exactly right. I wasn't around a whole lot of running backs that were great at like that stuff, right? They could dunk, could dunk and play a little D and get some rebounds.
It's one of those where they're 3-point shots. Just
you're like, was that Did you just shoot that with both hands? Did you just do that? They're that guy.
No, but I was saying that if all these players were on the same team, and I thought about this one time.
Yeah.
What if they just did that in the NFL? You have an expansion team in the NFL because we have a hard time evaluating these players based off who they played, competition.
Right.
Every year there's a rookie team in the NFL, an expansion rookie team. In 1 year, and then after that they get cycled through the other teams.
So they get,
Just one rookie team. Imagine that: Caleb Williams with Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison,
You're trying
Brian
to change
Thomas.
everything.
No,
Rugby. He wants new teams in the league.
But think of that team.
I know it would be amazing.
How do you think that team would do?
I mean,
a team of all of the top rookies coming to the.
It would probably pull off a few upsets, right? Like those teams are. He's going to be the most talented team in football.
Yeah,
it's just not going to be. They're going to mess up, and
by definition, you have the most first rounders of any team in the NFL.
Yeah, right. You take some of these college teams, and I go, I don't think this college team can beat an NFL team, but 5 years from now, if they got a little more experience, their talent level is already of an NFL team.
I'm kind of curious. I wonder what people would say on that.
I'd be interested too.
How would they do?
The Bengals are the closest team, I think, to the basketball thing, though. Okay. With Chase being the shooting guard, unbelievable guy, right? Or whatever you want to say him.
Yeah.
T. Higgins being the power forward center type, right?
Yep.
And then like a Tyler Boyd as kind of that Odunze, hey, like I can do a little everything. If you need me to run the point here for a few plays and Jamar Chase, you go do shooting guard. That's cool.
Yep.
Or just run some picks for me, and when I'm open, I'll knock it down and be like Rome Odunze, right? They are the closest ones to it right now, I think.
And then who's that? Iovisis. So Avisis, Andre. What was that guy's name for the Bengals?
Shivas, yes, right.
What, he's the sixth man.
He's sixth man off the bench, exactly right. Hey, comes in and gives us some hard 110% slap the floor defense.
That joke would have worked a lot better if I would have come close to his name.
I was like, who are you talking about?
I saw it. I was like, I know there's a guy out there. I was like, I have faith that I'll be able to nail this name.
Huh?
That was not even close. This one comes from Coach Ferratu. Coach Ferratu says, what's one commonly held take about both your respective teams, Giants and Lions, that you can't stand to hear from other fans? I want to hear some anger. Well, I mean, you've already heard the anger back and forth around the
field goal.
NFC Championship time.
Kick the fucking field goal, and you better go to the Super Bowl.
With Michael Badgley, who I still contend to this day may not even be in the league next year. But you wanted to rest our Super Bowl aspirations on the leg of that man.
But that's what you're sick of hearing. Go ahead, get angry.
We've already gone through it. But they take too many chances or something. I do think there's, much like I feel like there's a coming wave of rugby in the NFL, I do feel like, and we've seen this for a while, it's not, well, why are teams all of a sudden doing all this, risky stuff? Why are the Lions playing into this? Well, maybe just because the league was far too conservative for far too long.
Yeah,
and,
don't
and
disagree
the evidence
with that.
piled up
right.
that, maybe we shouldn't just kick every 4th and 1. Maybe, our offenses are good enough to get that extra yard every once in a while. So that would be my big pushback on the Lions. That we take too many chances because as is the case with any team, if you do something that is atypical or against the norm and then it doesn't work out, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, you tried to be too smart for everyone, and it didn't work out, even if you do feel like it's the best
then you
course
end up
of
on
action.
a text message chain telling a Hall of Fame coach that he's wrong, and you're right. I
since apologized.
We need to release that text.
Yeah.
Here's Ahmed telling our gold jacket head coach.
I think I apologized, and Devin accepted it, and then Tony, I haven't heard from him yet.
He's like, the hell with
Tony took himself off the chain.
How dare he? How dare he?
What about Giants?
Oh, mine's easy. I mean, you probably know mine. I mean, we got to do something at quarterback. Oh, the fucking Daniel Jones. Oh, my gosh, Daniel Jones, quarterback. We got to get a new quarterback. Everything on the team's fault is the quarterback. Daniel Jones wasn't out there for the last 8 weeks. It's still his fault. It doesn't matter. Daniel Jones, I mean, I'm so sick of hearing that. I mean, constantly. Right. Yeah, it's annoying, right? And then to Pete's in my ear going, Tommy Cutlets. So to that point too, and then like he comes in and it's just like, whoa, we got a first down, and everyone's like, he's the fucking greatest thing I've ever seen. He just got a first down. Look at this.
It's so funny. It's almost like a New York thing. Remember that, like with Mike White,
it's
right?
the
with
underdog
the Jets.
thing. They do love that for sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, I get a little sick of hearing Daniel Jones talk all the time.
It
like
could
I've
get
said.
crazier because there is talk that the Giants may be looking at a quarterback, round 1, round 2, something like that. So who knows what'll happen there? Are you getting that feeling?
No,
that
I mean they're dangling it out there. I just don't see that being a Giants move. We got Daniel Jones. We owe him a ton of money. We got Drew Lock. We owe him a ton of money. And wait, we got all these other positions we kind of need help on. But let's get another quarterback. Let's just do that. I just don't feel like that.
I agree.
So I don't know where that goes. New England, like you said earlier, New England's the one that's going to be interesting. And sometimes, what I look at in New England and I go, damn, is J.J. McCarthy not Tom Brady's younger brother? I mean, is he not meant to go there? I mean,
know.
He
I know.
looks like Tom Brady in a lot of ways, right?
It does seem like that.
Right.
Let's do a couple more here.
Okay.
Let's do this one from Ringo number 4. Because we said that we have these Ask Me Anythings, and we're not getting the anythings, right? We're getting a lot of the football questions.
Yeah.
But we say anything.
Right.
You can
I
ask
was gonna
us
be Ringo
whatever.
Starr here. I thought he was going to ask me.
He is a star to us.
I
Ringo
used to have his
number
autograph,
4.
Ringo Starr's.
Used to have his autograph.
Well, I lost it somewhere. I don't know. Or it might be in my mom and dad's house.
Okay.
I had it on a drum pad, Ringo Starr.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad's agent early on in his career was more of an entertainment agent. And, I got an autograph from Ringo Starr. I got to meet him once as a young kid.
Wow.
Right. Him and, one of the Eagles.
I mean, how much do you think that thing would be worth? How much
Bob
would that be
Walsh?
worth?
I don't even know. I have some, unbelievable autographs, right? I have a Muhammad Ali autograph glove, right? I mean,
Jeez.
I got some Joe Montana, Michael Jordan. I have a Michael Jackson autograph.
They're all somewhere in your attic.
Some of them I have. Others are like my mom's put them somewhere, and I just got to figure out what the hell they
She's
are.
like, Chris is going to lose them, which you did with the drum.
Right.
Ringo number 4 says, hey, Chris, this is Ringo Starr. Do you remember when I gave you that drum and I signed it for you? Love the pod. What's your ideal balance of drink and smoke when you're letting loose?
Ooh, that's a good question there. That's because it's a balancing act. Let me just tell you. Because if you sway too far on either way, that could mean the spins are coming and you're in trouble. I had that actually a few weekends ago. I had family. I usually do a family dinner every Saturday night.
Okay.
Cook steaks, my kids, maybe my daughter's boyfriend comes, whatever. But I try to do something. Sometimes my mom's there, my aunt's there, my mother-in-law was in town this week.
All are welcome.
Right.
Yeah.
A few weekends ago, my mom and dad came, and I had to leave the dinner table because I was not feeling too good because I pushed it a little too far.
Oh, no.
Right. I had smoked. I had drank a lot. And then I was like, I'm going to take a few more puffs right before we eat.
Yeah.
And I was a little too tipsy to have a few more puffs quite at that point. And I had about 2 bites of my steak, and I was like, uh-oh. And they were like, my son was like, oh, you don't look good, Dad. You look pale. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel good. Let me go outside. I walked around for a little bit.
And then you were fine after that.
I was fine. It took me a few minutes. But I always smoke first.
Okay.
Right? And then I go to, it depends. Like, if it's the first night of the week that I'm drinking, which is usually Friday night, I'm just going to have 2 drinks and then probably eat a good dinner and then smoke a little after. But then Saturday, where I feel like, hey, I got a day under my belt and I'm used to the drinking a little bit, I smoke and then I might have 3 or 4 drinks and then smoke after I eat.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, I might combine it all a little bit. I might have like a drink and then do a little puff. And just a little, I puff first, and then I drink, and then I puff a little more, and then I keep drinking.
And the drink is normally...
Don't follow me, everybody out there. I'm not your model
Or else
citizen.
you won't enjoy your steak.
I'm vodka all the way. Chopin on the rocks, 2 limes, all the time. That's what I drink.
See, I'm bourbon.
Yeah.
Woodford Reserve.
I'm going to get there, though, with that.
With what, bourbon?
I want to try it, yeah, because I haven't really tried dark liquors.
They're all acquired taste,
I know they
right?
are. Well, none of them taste good. It's poison.
I usually go, they are poison.
Right.
I usually go, 3 ounces of Woodford or whatever, or Bullet, and then
you're good.
Decide later on if I want another 3 ounces after that. What do we got time for here, Pete? Maybe one more? Is that what we're thinking here? All right, so here it is.
Glory days.
Big Chiefer 92.
Whoa, sounds like my kind of guy.
Love the pod and beyond question here. Thank you, Big Chiefer 92. Ahmed once mentioned many moons ago a funny story when he was a high school quarterback about thinking of cheeseburgers while breaking a huddle. In the spirit of draft season, can we hear more of Ahmed's quarterback stats? See any film, maybe? That is true. That is true.
Do you have some film?
I do. I think I probably
Why
do.
do
My
you bring
dad
that
might.
in?
My dad
Why
might
do you
have
bring
it.
that in and show us some plays of you?
The story.
We all got me on a fucking microphone butchering a play with John Gruden. We need to start seeing some bad plays of you.
My one best play was at the end of the first half. I was just rolling out to the right. We were at the 50-yard line, and it was just like a Hail Mary situation. It was like, throw it as far as you can. I could throw it maybe 40 yards.
Yeah.
But this one, I got out of the pocket. It was more of a sidearm throw. Just put my whole body into it. It came off perfect spiral, which when you throw as hard as you can.
So were you running to your left?
Running to my right.
You were running to your right.
Righty quarterback,
Yeah.
running to my right.
Okay.
And then I just set up and I just threw it as far as I could, sidearm. It was like 45 yard,
Right.
and it was like hit my receiver right in stride, who had beaten the corner, and it was like a touchdown at the end of the first half. If we have that, I will definitely bring that.
Please
I
do.
will bring that in.
We'll take anything. Beggars can't be choosers. We'll take anything. I want to see it.
But
what number did you wear?
I wore 4 for
4?
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
He was my guy. Yeah, red 4.
You wore 4 because of Jim Harbaugh?
I did. I loved him. Michigan guy. I loved him at Captain Comeback with the Colts.
Yeah.
And so it was just
Okay.
he was my guy. But I did one time in a high school varsity game, I was getting behind center, and for whatever reason, it popped into my mind. I was like, I'm going to be getting McDonald's after the game. I wonder what I'll get. I was like, why am I thinking about this in the middle of a game?
Hey, listen, stuff like that happens.
And I never made it to the NFL.
And
Pete,
you got sack fumbled the next play.
Pete, you have a photo here. Does this go back to my?
Uh-oh.
So this is.
Oh my gosh!
look at
that
that.
you?
That's me, a young Ahmed
It doesn't
Fareed.
even look like you. You're so
beard-
young.
Beardless man. Look at that dark hair.
Holy crap! Look at that.
I feel like I might be a little even heavier there than I am now.
It looks like it. You look like you got a little neck. You look a little meatheadish there, honestly. A little meatheadish.
I could have played linebacker.
Damn, that is amazing.
So this is when
Sparta
2011.
grad.
Oh, I was leaving my job, my local job in Virginia, and I was making it big. I was going to MLB Network for the first time. And so what does it say about me? Does it talk Ahmed Fareed? Ahmed Fareed didn't end his senior year as a middle infielder for Sparta High School's baseball team by crushing a long home run or scoring the winning run. Instead, he grounded into a double play that ended Sparta's season. Fortunately for Fareed, his days in baseball were far from over.
Damn.
Now he's talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah, playing days, they're over.
Man.
That
Ending the season. They're putting you on blast right there.
I must have told him that story. I did. It was our regional game, last at bat of my athletic career in anything.
That's
because baseball
brutal.
was the last sport that I played.
Yeah.
It was like winning run on third, man on first and third, 1 out, and I grounded into a double play.
That stinks.
And then I'm talking to you now.
Yeah.
Many moons later.
Look at the gifts the Lord has given you.
Yeah. So that's my athletic career. And if
right.
I can find
please do.
some tapes
Please
of it.
do. Please do.
You've seen me throw. You've seen me throw
I
the
saw
football.
You're natural.
It's okay. All right.
It's okay. Your dad is your coach. You have to have film. There's no excuse. So please get that, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
He goes in the article. It says the 31-year-old hired by MLB Network to be a host is a long way from his days announcing the lunch menu to the rest of his high school class, which is how far I've come from announcing cheeseburgers at lunch
the menu.
to announcing Chris Simms' top 5 safety rankings here upcoming. All right, cool. Is that it, or do we got one more, Pete? Is that all right? Pete says we got one last one. D Cowboy 777. Yesterday at Easter dinner at my cousin's house, there was someone that said he played Pee-wee football with you here in New Jersey. But he said Phil would come to the game but not get out of the car.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
He knows. That's very true. That is very true. My dad used to come to my Little League games on like a Friday night, right? And he didn't want to get out of the car. And then everybody would be like, oh, Phil Simms. And then,
Sure.
Our town might have been okay with him there, but the other town was like, oh my gosh, the quarterback of the Giants is over there, right? So he would like in our old rec field, like on one side of the football field was the parking lot. So he would find like the front row spot and kind of like maybe be down by the goal line, whatever. And he'd sit in the car for almost the whole game, really, right?
Yeah.
And, usually my mom would be in there with him. She might get out a little and say hi to everybody. But, yeah, I mean, he didn't come to many games, even as a Little League kid, but that's what he would do. Pull up in the parking lot.
He wanted to watch. He wanted to be able to watch
He
without
wanted to
having to
watch.
talk.
He didn't want to be distraction, nor did he want to be distracted, nor did he probably want to talk. He's been cussed out by Bill Parcells all week, so he's like, geez, I just want to watch a little football here.
And when you made a big play, would he honk the horn?
No. And absolutely now, but that's my dad. That's who he is, right? Really. I mean, like, listen, like even high school, I think he only came to like 3 or 4 of my high school games, right? Because he was working for NBC and CBS, announcing games on the road, whatever else. But if he came to like even a practice, right, on like a Wednesday at high school, he would watch from like 700 yards away, right? He was never going to get involved or make the coach feel like he was, looking over things or second guessing or anything like that. But yeah, that's good. That's obviously someone I played against because they would know that. You wouldn't know that unless you played against me right there.
Yeah. He remembers it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the fortunate thing about it that you have. I mean, that's the hard thing about playing in the NFL and doing all the stuff and coaching and being involved in the league is that you do it young. You have young kids. It's just such a time commitment. You've talked about it. It's just like, I mean, you're fortunate that you get to spend time
definitely
with your kids, make dinner with them, and then
and
then be too high to be able to enjoy the steak. But still, you're there. You're
exactly.
there with them.
I'm there. Exactly. The father figure is there. You're funny.
Your presence.
Way to go. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we'll give you some more crazy stories. I love all these crazy questions, so please send them in. Like, please do that. We love that. I hope everybody enjoyed the AMA today, unpacking the pass rushers, the DBs with Devin McCourty. Thanks to him so much for taking part and taking some time to hang out with me and Ahmed. Ahmed, you the man as always for driving the ship. All right, everybody, you know where to find us. Wednesday, we got O-line rankings, all right? It's back to the draft talk, and man, it's a class. I don't know. I sit here and go, are we going to have a record number of offensive line drafted in the first round? That's kind of my initial thought, and I'm not even done with the whole group yet. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. Be ready for that. You know where to find us. Get at us on social media. Everybody be good. Enjoy the next 2 days. Peace out, homies. Clap it up. Yo, homies, what's up? I know it's the off season, but it's never the off season on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Me and Ahmed Fareed are going to be here for it all. We got free agency. We're going to break it all down. The draft, the rankings of positions. Of course, we're going to unpack it all. Hit subscribe, get to my free agency reactions, 2024 draft rankings, and more. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.